You want to know what's happening at the Disneyland Resort, and we're here to get you caught up. For example, what's happening at the gates could change your park experience. What's going on here just might make you more curious about Tiana's Bayou adventure. But this Haunted Mansion update, this one just might shock you. First thing I wanted to do was stop by the train station to see if I could spot anything behind the construction scrim that's separating the work site from the fountain area. That scrim has consumed the fast pass station. We can't really see anything very well. We can kind of see a vague idea of what's going on behind that scrim. But what we do know is that the fast pass station has been completely obliterated. But let's not mess around too much with that. Let's get to these photos provided by the Fresh Baked Street Team. What you're looking at is that switchback area over there by the graveyard, which we're going to look at also in a minute. That's the queue, just a big pile of dirt back there. That's where all those green switchbacks were. This is what you would be. This is the view as you face it from the mansion. You're just about ready to go inside. It's kind of, like I said, it's kind of shocking. It disconcerting, but I mean, we knew this was coming. We knew that they were going to redo this queue, and for good reason. They have to be ADA compliant. That's what a lot of this is about. But also, I mean, that queue could use some love. It really could. It was kind of pedestrian. These images were provided on Twitter by DJM, and they show a different angle. This is peeking over. This is just as you're entering that rear queue back there after passing by the pet cemetery. And so where that bobcat is, where that little earth mover is, that's where the old fast pass station used to be. And you can see some of the brickwork that's still there, that planter just on the other side of the mausoleum wall. There's nothing left. It's just gone. I don't know how to evaluate what we're seeing here other than to say, try not to panic. Here's another shot looking in the other directions. Lots of rubble, lots of dirt. And, you can see that even, the mausoleum tombs have been spray painted. Again, try not to panic when you see that. There's no reason to believe that they're not going to restore that, put it back. Why it's spray painted, I couldn't say, but that does, it's not a desecration, as it were. I mentioned on Twitter this could very well trigger a lot of people, but I have to say that I'm not actually all that bothered by this. It's the shocking part of it is just the demolition. It's just like, it's hard to believe that you could actually do something like this to ever just to see Haunted Mansion in a state like this, an attraction that is, legendary. It's a legendary attraction that they have turned to dust. Just the queue, just that rear part of that queue. And as I mentioned, that rear queue, it's not as though it were something more than just concrete and switchback railing. And that's the part that has been taken. What's going to wind up being placed here, I am absolutely positive will be superior to what we have enjoyed for the past few decades. I've no doubt of that. So I'm not concerned, even though it is kind of shocking to look at. Meanwhile, on this day, I decided to go take a look on that hill back there, beyond the rubble, just to see if I could see what they were doing with the tombstones, the cemetery up there. And it does look to be the case that they are going to clear that hillside. The tombstones are gone. They've even cut down a tree, it looks like. And so work is going to be done here. But again, I must ask for patience here because I don't think this is as bad as it looks. There's no reason to think that they won't put those tombstones back. They very easily could put those tombstones back. They probably need to clear it in order to do something else. And again, it could be nothing or it could be something better, but I don't think that they're just taking them out as, again, to use a word, desecration. I have every belief that those tombstones will return, or if they don't, it'll be an improvement. It'll be a plussing up of the cemetery. It'll make it look even better. By the time you see this, Haunted Mansion will be closed, and we're going to have a difficult time going forward seeing anything at all. We won't even have the opportunity for any of our tallest muffins to peek over the wall. We'll hope to maybe get some kind of overhead shots, maybe from the other end by the Disneyland Railroad or something to that effect. But this is going to be a very difficult project to track. But we're going to do our best. So stay tuned to Fresh Baked to see how that goes. In the meantime, let's climb the Adventureland Treehouse to see what's happening with our other favorite project around the parks, and that's Tianas Bayou Adventure. A very gray mountain getting ready for its next coat, its next surface. This is, as I've been told, a scratch coat. This is the coat that they put underneath. And so that the coat that they actually wind up putting the theming on, the actual guest facing coat, it'll stick to the scratch coat and give it something to adhere to, rather than just trying to chisel straight up rock. I guess it's so fascinating that the various stages that happen in construction and how detailed it is. They're amazing. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what Disney does with this space. We're going to just check in on that section we've been watching back there with the steel. The steel looks about the same. They put the scratch coat on that area back there where we saw the mesh last week in that one layer, but we're still trying to figure out what's going on in that little corner back there. It's still kind of a mystery to me. Now, we're not going to get a lot to see today in terms of guys running around working, because it was a rainy day as we recorded this. I recorded this on Saturday morning, and it rained all day. Here now, there's another layer of scratch coat. Last week we saw that they had put that white layer down. So it went to the mesh, then the white layer, then this gray scratch coat. I hope I have that right. Again, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm trying to learn. The gray scratch coat, and then the next layer that they used to actually apply the themed surface to. Took a look over the return. This is on the path in front of Splash Mountain, and they've cut out a new hole. There were 2 holes before. Now there are 3. Not sure what they're trying to get at, but I think it's very interesting to see the inside of a mountain. Also found these bags of rubble. I don't know where this rubble came from. Part of me wants to think it's rubble from the Haunted Mansion, because it's they've closed the secret path again, because they're going to be using it for staging. My guess is staging could be for Haunted Mansion. I don't see why not. It's just around the corner. But yes, not a lot of activity on the mountain this afternoon. And everything's just kind of, on pause on the exteriors while they wait for the rain to stop. And so guys can work out there. There are people working, just not on the outside. They are probably 100 guys inside that mountain right now, making what I hope to be some kind of masterpiece. This is that area that we saw them working on feverishly 2 weeks ago. My guess is that they were just closing up a section there. That was an open section that they're closing up so they can apply the future foliage that's going to appear on this mountain. Hill. Tianas Hill. We spoke in a news video about the probability that Critter Country as a land would survive. Just want to point this out. They haven't taken the sign down. The Critter Country sign is still there. I'm going to assume it says Critter Country on there too. Maybe when they get back on the Mark Twain, we'll be able to look at that better. Here's from the Briar Patch. We've now had a water tower for almost 2 weeks, and it's kind of anticlimactic now. It's not really a talking point anymore. It's there. The excitement is past, and now we're on to the next thing. Like this guy going down the stairs. All right. I see these guys and I just think potential. There's something, they're making something in there. All right, so forgive me. We went to the back of the mountain, and forgive me for putting my camera in a place that we haven't been before. For some reason, I thought this was where the steel was last week. And I'm like, where did the steel go? Now, last week I thought we took a step back. And I thought maybe we took another step back even further, like they took the steel down. For some reason, I thought that's where it was. That's the steel right there. That's the steel we saw. That's the entirety of it. For some reason, I thought the steel extended back into this section back here. So forgive me as I try to figure out Where'd it go? uh, but the direction that I thought it was going kind of stalled out a little bit. Now this is really curious because, okay, so we're gonna check back in with the areas that we could see, and we thought they were installing some sort of, kind of like a roof type structure there, but we can't see it. It's blending in with the sky, with the cloudy sky, but there is, okay, there you go. See, now there's a white tarp covering it. So the tarp, and it's more than there's something underneath that tarp. There's something that has been extending across. So I do still feel like we're in that kind of mode. And here I am trying to figure out where the missing steel is. It's not there. That's the steel right there to the right, David. That's it. Okay, here we go. So there is definitely something going over that part of the track. But where that is going in the future, I can't predict at this point. I still want to say that they're going to cover it up somehow. I can't imagine they would go through all this trouble for nothing. That there has to be, they wouldn't, the way that they've, dug out those logs to embed that steel in there, that's permanent. Right? I mean, that's permanent. So what? It's just so curious. I can't wait. I now I gotta know. I can't wait till we finish this. I can't wait to see this finished product. Well, there we go. So we'll be back next week to see if, after this rain has stopped, if they have ramped up the progress of whatever it is that they're trying to do there. But now I want to take you to some new business. Now, forgive me, but I'd like to take a quick break from this construction update to let you guys know about GetAwayToday. You may already know that they are our preferred vacation planner, travel agent for our fans who are looking to book a trip to Disneyland or Walt Disney World or more. Universal Studios Hollywood, Universal Orlando, SeaWorld, Legoland, you name it. And I'd like to think that we know them very well. We've met many of them personally, and we know how kind they are and how really tremendously good they are at their jobs. And that's why I'm confident in referring our fans to Getaway, because I am confident that you will be treated just as well as we have. If you're planning a trip to a Disney park or Universal or anything else of that nature, if you're planning a trip soon, use the link in our description so that they know that we sent you and so that we know that you were sent to them through one of our YouTube videos. And in so doing, you can be confident that you're going to be getting some of the best possible service from people who know everything there is to know about planning a trip to the Disney parks. Thank you for that. Let's get back to the show. It was confirmed by Scott Gustin on Twitter, where he's saying that Disney has announced or confirmed that they are in fact going to be updating the entry gates to both Disneyland and DCA. Every single gate will be removed and replaced with new automatic guest entry gates and fixed manual gates. We had speculated last week, could it be that they're trying to add Walt Disney World style scanners? Well, it could be, but no, we're thinking not. We're thinking now that it's more likely to be the kind of scanners that they have at Disneyland Paris. This is what's meant by automatic. You scan in, the cast member will scan your pass, assuming that there is still a cast member, they're not doing the thing at Walt Disney World. And rather than you having to go through a turnstile, they will just open up for you. And this would make it more accessible, ADA accessible. There are means for ADA guests to go through, but it's kind of a process, and this is a little more graceful, and it's a little more graceful for everybody. So I do think that, assuming that this is what happens, I do think that this is a win for Disney guests. I do think that this is going to change our experience and make it more efficient getting guests through the gates, but it's not what some people were hoping. Again, this is speculation. I don't believe it's going to be what people were hoping, and that is the Walt Disney World type scanners where you would just boop your magic band and go through, or your actual ticket or your barcode that's on your phone or something like that. I don't think it's going to be that, which they really should consider that. They would sell more magic bands if they did. We'll get on the monorail next for a very interesting discussion. We've been changing our view of what's happening here at Downtown Disney. There's the construction site that we've been trying to figure out what they're doing, back here. We've been trying to figure out what that is, A, and 2, where's Earl's going to go? Well, we kind of know now. I have it on good authority that what we've been watching them build here, right next to what we affectionately call the Best Buy, is the dining locations. That building that's already up, that's been, they've been building for a while now, that's just retail. But that empty space to its left as we face it, that's where those new dining locations that Disney talked about in that update on the Disney Parks blog. Soul Sister, Sip and Sonder, and Gigi's Chicken Shop. There will be, the dining locations on the bottom floor. It could be that all 3 are on the bottom floor, and then the top floor is going to be some sort of bar service as well. You'll go upstairs and have a second story, a rooftop bar service or a cafe service or something to that effect. As for Earl's, this is a mystery. There is another quick service location that's in the plans, but they're not very far along in this space at all, as best as I can tell. Matter of fact, I'm not even sure how committed they are to it. Right here, to the left of Din Tai Fung, in between that and the retail location that's also been under construction, this space right here is set aside for another quick service location. So this could be the future site of Earl Sandwich. I'm going to need some help from the street team to get some photos to see how far along they are in, on that, if they're even anywhere advanced on that site right there, because I can't see anything over these walls. So if anybody's staying at either the Paradise or the Pixar Place Hotel or at Downtown Disney, and get us some shots from the hotel suite, that'd be great to see if there's anything happening in that space. But I believe that that's the most likely location for Earl Sandwich. Centrico, just about as we have left it the past few weeks. But Paseo, they've got some sheathing up now on their facade. That's moving quickly now. Paseo is moving quickly. This is another site that's supposed to be done by summer. Which summer month? I don't know. Let's go to the Grand Californian next, where I found this. That's the lobby. That's the Grand Californian lobby. Very nice. So I went upstairs to see what I could see. And there's stuff happening here. What they're doing is they're putting in new carpet. That's new carpet there. It looks to be the same pattern as they had there before. So likely it's just new. They've just replaced it. Meanwhile, they're also replacing the upholstery on the various furniture items located in the lobby floor. You can see that couch has been stripped. So they're probably going to bring back a new reupholstered couch. Meanwhile, you have guys, it looks like they're putting on some sort of finishing layer. He was spraying this thing down while we were filming this. I don't know if otherwise, I feel like everything is going to look pretty much as it's always been, just new. So that's nice that they're updating everything there, and they're not redoing anything. They're not tearing anything out or replacing anything. They're just making it new again, making it fresh. Thank you, Disney. Much appreciated. Took this opportunity to enter Disney or California Adventure from the Grand Californian entrance, and we just happened to get dropped right in front of Grizzly River Run, so we can update you on what's happening here. We showed you those permits, and some folks were aghast at the cost of what they were doing here, replacing the PVC piping, the geysers. The permit stated that they were changing from PVC pipe to copper pipe, which is a huge upgrade. It's a very costly upgrade. My guess is, as it was explained to me, that the PVC piping was just too unreliable. It was causing too much downtime. And you guys know Grizzly River Run closes constantly, not just during the winter. It's often breaking, it doesn't run. The geysers often don't work right. So even though it's $300,000 to do all this, they're getting copper pipe instead of PVC. I noted while I was there that there's also a bobcat out there on the, in the queue area. Now, I don't know if that's there because that's where it's got its business to do, but that these were covered and it's there to do what? I'm not sure. It's possible they could be doing some updates on that. They're digging, that's for, digging up concrete, right? Is it not? So that's interesting. And of course, we're going to wait and see what happens with the wheel that was taken out last week. Hopefully that gets returned shiny and new. We'll go to the Hyperion Theater next to check in on what's happening with those construction walls and the scaffolding up around the theater. Rainy day, so I couldn't see any construction workers there actively doing anything at all. Last week it looked like they were pressure washing things. They've also been putting up the Lunar New Year decorations and getting ready for that event, which starts on Tuesday, the day after you guys see this. This meet and greet area right here, that's going to be where you meet Mei Mei and Ming. It's Year of the Dragon. Very much looking forward to Lunar New Year this year. Stay tuned to Fresh Bake because we're going to be trying a whole bunch of food, checking out all the shows. I'm looking forward to this event as I do every year. I'm really looking forward to seeing Mei Mei in person, and I'm looking forward to that red spice fried chicken bites plate. That's got my interest. With that, we're going to go back to Disneyland for a little bit more new business. City Hall is behind scrim and scaffold. Well, actually, just scaffold. They haven't put the scrim down yet. Looks alarming, kind of disconcerting, but don't worry about it. This, again, is just something, this refurb season, January, February, we see a lot of this stuff on Main Street. This year, it's City Hall's turn. Last year, we saw a few shops on Main Street get this, but this is just new paint. That does include the Disneyland Fire Department. That's closed, so they can repaint that as well. And actually, this project is extending outside the gates. Guest services and lost and found and all that. We've got a bunch of scaffolding up here as well. They've just begun this, so what we're seeing now is not any kind of update. This is they haven't started yet. They've only put up the scaffolding so far, but it does look like it could use some TLC. Astro Orbiter. Last week, the site was empty, save for the orbitors that we've been hoping they would redo, but they're probably not. But it looks like the centerpiece has been returned. So we'll look for them to start putting pieces back together on this in the coming weeks. The calendar goes up to March 2nd, and there's still no return date for the Astro Orbiter. So this is going to go into, obviously, for the rest of January through February and into March. Still no date yet for the return of Astro Orbitor. And I also don't expect the paint to change. Even though there's scaffolding around that particular object, it hasn't extended to the other objects, nor have they done anything visible to it. I have no idea what they're doing there, but I don't think it's anything that we're going to be thrilled about. Jungle Cruise, you've heard us report in the past about the fact that the Tiger scene is under refurb. That is still the case. The Tiger is still as it was. We mentioned, or you may have heard the report, that the Elephant was airlifted back onto the attraction. That was quite a scene. The Elephant's been missing for months, but it was just getting refurbed. The Elephant has returned and is back there where it should be. So too is the totem pole. We didn't even get a chance to report on this, but the totem pole, I think we saw it in a different video, was gone. That was also just going through a cosmetic refurb. They took it off site, touched it up, gave it some new paint, I would imagine, and now it is back as well. So Jungle Cruise is 2/3 of its way back to its normal self, still waiting for that dig site, which is it's going to be that way for a little while, I believe. Earlier last week, we reported on the Pirates of the Caribbean getting some new queue configurations, formations, in preparation for Genie Plus. I had wondered if they were going to maybe have two different queues dedicated, one lightning lane, one standby, and there was going to be no mix. I was not mixed at the time when I rode, but they looks like they were mixing guests. They're still running those tests. They're still just running one queue today, on this day, running just the one queue on the right for standby. But there was a cast member over here by the Adventureland Treehouse, and you can see her, telling guests which side to go on, left or right. So they are going to, I think this is going to be the final form. This is where they're going to mix the guests with Lightning Lane. I don't know, I would love to see them give a shot at no mix. I would love to see an iteration where they don't mix them at all and just see what happens. I want to know how that works, because it would be cool if the standby queue never had to worry about how many people were buying Lightning Lane. It wouldn't matter if it was 10 or 1,000, because they've got their own queue anyway. I mean, obviously they're not doing it because it didn't work out mathematically, perhaps. I don't know, but I'd still like to see what that looks like. Small World has reopened. I'm very happy about this. This made me unusually happy. I'm not the biggest Small World fan, but it's such a pure part of Disney that I just, whenever it comes back in its natural state, I'm always very glad to see that, and I'm glad to see the train go by. No updates from Toontown still. I don't think anything's happening here at Donald Duck's Pond. And the Mark Twain is no longer set for a February 3rd reopening. But now the calendar is showing that it's closed up until February 9th and reopening on February 10th, a week later. And that, Fresh Baked, is our update, our construction update for this week. I do hope you enjoyed. Thank you guys very, very much for watching. If you like this show and want to show your support, please do consider joining our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/freshbaked. Hope you guys can join us there. We really appreciate that. Otherwise, follow us on Instagram at _freshbaked, on Twitter at FreshBakedDisney, that's fresh with no E, and on TikTok at FreshBakedDisney. Thanks again for watching, everybody. We love you. Be safe out there. Be kind to one another. And Fresh Baked.